sat here and I watched, and I was a bit envious. My background, and I'm a bit backwards to a lot of the folks that spoke before, my entire professional career before coming here was spent in tech. So I started at Yahoo when it was really Yahoo, and everybody used Yahoo, which is not necessarily the case now. And I switched from that into a bunch of startups, one of them going public, another still alive, and then, hey, this is a non-trivial thing. And so it turns out that kind of about 4 years ago, one of the colleagues that I had worked with in one of my first projects at Yahoo said, hey, what do you think about changing the way that you work? And why don't you leave Amazon, where you're building a new product and having lots of fun, and move to Germany and start and work at a 150-year-old bank? And so obviously a natural career progression, right? San Francisco to Frankfurt. So I thought I'd kind of share some of my experiences on kind of an inside-out view of why would I come to a bank, why would I do this to myself, and kind of what is it like when you get in a business where the first question they ask is, well, what's Python? And this is, no joke, a super common experience that we'd have. So the kind of topics that I'd like to focus on is really kind of what are we talking about when you start a big data group at a 150-year-old bank? And I'll start with the interview process. And so my boss said, hey, you're going to go, they're totally intrigued why you'd move here, so you're going to get to talk to some board members today. And so I show up and I start talking to the CEO, and he goes, Ryan, I don't know why people would put their information with Amazon, with Google, with Microsoft, maybe. You know what the German word is for database? And I was like, well, no, Martin, I don't. And he goes, Datenbank. They want to give it to us. We should be holding their data. So this was the starting point, and I swear to God that day, no less than 3 different board members explained this to me. And I was like, yeah, okay, good talk. But really kind of what you wanted them to get out of it was what value does big data bring to an old, crusty enterprise like ours? And really, it's how much can you learn and how do you transform the way the business understands and learns about the customer and their needs? And then for me personally, why did I move here? I still ask myself the question. But the short answer is the bank was a business in transition. And every time you see an industry or a company that's in transition, you can think of it as, oh, they're dying. Or you can look at it as, hey, this is an opportunity to change the way we work and the way that we operate and the way the business thinks. And for me, the challenge of going and working at a startup was awesome. It was great because literally everybody you worked with, they were coming from all over the world to move to Silicon Valley and get that experience of working in a startup. They'd probably gotten kind of 1B in their entire life. They graduated from Stanford with a master's in electrical engineering. They were all really, really smart and motivated, and for me, that was a lot of fun. But I was having a kid. I was working 60 hours a week at Amazon. My wife was working 55 hours a week at Autodesk, and so we kind of looked at this as this change of the business, the change in the ecosystem, the change for us was also a new opportunity. So why don't I talk a bit about the big data journey at Commerzbank? Sorry, my slides are not as nice as everybody else's, but when we talk about big data, advanced analytics, we started in 2017. My original boss at the time, they parachuted him in, they gave him a computer and an assistant and said, good luck, start a big data group. So started with a group of 2 folks. And nobody knew what to think of him, but they knew they wanted a big data guy. And so this was the era of put 100 people in a room and show up with something. And I was thinking about this whole chat GPT thing, and I swear to God, this is the last time I'll mention it today. But when you look at when chat GPT and the OpenAI Foundation started, it wasn't a few months ago, or it wasn't a few weeks ago. It was a business that started, and the OpenAI Foundation was started in 2015. So you have to look at products in the evolution of a big data group as a long process. It is not a trivial process when you start talking about the enterprise, and it's also not a short process when you start talking about a startup. Now, the thing about startups is they operate in dog years, so 6 months is an eternity. But honestly spoken, it is a journey for all parties involved from the start and from the end, yeah? But we really, when we talk about the bank, it was traditional IT at its core. It was a data center. It was external vendors. I remember the first person that took me to lunch when I got here. The company had a blue logo. It was like classic IT. And we were talking about moving to cloud-native delivery. So how do you actually use the cloud? What is the cloud? And you had to overcome obstacles like one of the data center guys said, hey, this is really a risk to go put data on the cloud. What if somebody brings in liquid nitrogen, freezes an array, and walks out of the building with it? And I kid you not, this was part of the dialogue that existed at the time. So moving people from a traditional IT model into a cloud-based delivery and getting all of the power and the flexibility of the cloud is a non-trivial discussion. And when we talk about the people-enabled customer experience, this is, for me, one that kind of hits home. The definition of what good service looks like has to change over time. And I think of not just the bank, where we had a big branch network, and the definition of good customer service was you walk into a branch, you talk to a person who's nice and friendly, and they help with whatever your financial need is. Or if I think of when I was flying 100,000 miles a year as a consultant, that every time I picked up the phone when my flight was delayed, I got a person who spoke native English and said, sir, I'll put you on the next flight. And moving from that model into when my flight's delayed, I get a push notification. I can immediately change my flight and get on the next best flight and get to where I'm going is less people involved, but better service. And for the bank and the way that we think about service delivery, you have to think about an AI-enabled workforce. You have to think about an AI-enabled customer experience. And so this was a big, big difference in the way that we think as a business, in the way that we contemplate our way of working. To kind of illustrate in kind of a much smaller way what this kind of transformation or what this journey starts to look like, when the group started, this is what we had as a profile of the customer. So we said, hey, this is Amelia Kreuzer. She's 27 years old. She lives in Mainz, and she's been a customer of ours for 7 years. And so that's the starting point. And then everybody says, no, wait. We know what her income is because we see all of the money coming in for Julia, and we also see the money going out. So we know so much more about her than everybody else. And you say to yourself, yep, that's a great story. They go, so she's saving €192 a month. We should sell her a savings plan. That would be wonderful. And this is the mindset, right? But when you sit down and you talk with a frontline customer service manager in the bank, they can go and they can look at all of her transactions and they can go, you know what? She doesn't need a savings plan right now. She needs something else. And if you do this at the corporate level, it's the same story. It's, oh, this company is doing trade in Turkey. That's a high interest rate, high inflation market. So let me tell you about the hedge that's happening. And I swear to God, when you sit in a frontline part of the business and you talk to these folks, their machine is just a little mini recommendation module, right? And so how do you take the understanding that frontline customer has, add some code, add some math, and build a new customer experience? And really, this is kind of the heart of the discussion. So we built a service which we called the Knowledge Graph. There is no graph database behind it, but that's okay. And what we started to do, and the first thing that we do, is we started to apply a natural language processing model to it to understand the base transactions. So with Amelia, we went from doing this, where we said, oh, she spends this money, she has a car loan and a premium account, to she has payroll, she works at Fraport, she's a student, she gets a transfer on a regular basis from Cat Bank, and she has shopping returns of €190 a month. So she spends a lot of money and a lot of time shopping and sending stuff back. She has rent payment, she has insurance, she grocery shops, she shops, and she also likes Netflix. So we went from a picture of money in, money out, to having a foundational set of facts that we know about all of our customers and the companies that they interact with. So obviously this is a changed version, but now we've started to apply a whole naming convention framework, categorical understanding of the companies that she interacts with. So we not only understand our customer, but also the companies that they interact with, what the business model of that company is. Do they get even money across even amounts of time for the same set of customers? Or is it one time with low customer retention? Where do they operate? Where do they fit in terms of overall market share? How much of a given type of product are they offering, especially when we get into financial products? And we started with that kind of Julia Krause case with, we're just going to do automated lending, right? We're going to make it simpler to give her money. And we started to build from a product and a use case into a platform. We extended the same data, the same patterns, the same information. We went from automated lending, providing customer-facing analytics in the mobile app. We're providing KYC use case checks. We're doing financial crime monitoring, product purchase signals, and event-driven analytics, all with the same underlying data and the same underlying platform. It takes a lot more work to explain what's going on, but you show it to somebody at the front line and they go, wait a minute, I'm in wealth management. Can you tell me everybody that has an Amex Black Card? Obviously, we can't do it for everybody, but if they're opted in, you sure can, right? And so this is the type of information that we focus on, and this is the type of way that you change a business where you do start with 2 people, grow to 400. But really, what are the things that we really, really cared about? Number one, we focused on delivery. There is always an element in a big, big organization of, is everybody aligned? Does everybody want to make a statement? What does there say? Oh, I heard that guy and the other group is doing the exact same thing. Keep your head down, deliver what you're supposed to deliver. It will come in time. I put partner, 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 but it's more than just internal. It obviously matters. You need to build allies. You need to build momentum behind what you're doing. But you also need to think about, what's the right cloud service provider? Should I land on AWS that's ticked off the regulator 5 different times? Should I partner with Google? Should I partner with a blue or a green or whatever color company? But really, there is an element of, you still need to partner. You can't do this alone, but you still have to focus on what is it you're delivering. And then recognize where the business is in their journey. I knew what it was like to be in the middle of a business that had technologists everywhere, and it was at the heart of the company, data and analytics. But in this case, it wasn't. People didn't know what Python was. They were scared of the cloud. They were scared of change. They were scared that AI was going to replace them. And really, when you talk about understanding and being a part of the business and driving transformation, you also have to recognize that you're a funny-looking American that has moved to Germany, that can't say anything right. And so you have to recognize that's where you are and that's where the business is on their overall journey. And I think in every case, you have to recognize that as a data leader, that the empathy behind it is incredibly important. So thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Data Masterclass series. You can fast-track your journey to data mastery by joining our 3 days immersive training event Data Masterclass Europe 2023 at www.datamasterclass.eu.
Boric Data Masterclass, where great data journeys begin.